Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So today we've had Helicarrier unlocked for a while. I just never really adventured into testing it out. I tried it in a Hela discard build and it felt okay, but it didn't really feel like I was ever utilizing the Helicarrier part of it for anything other than just a big stat stick of a discard. And so now that my alternate account is rank 100, I am able to kind of experiment a little bit. And so today we're going to be running a kind of hybrid build similar to the negative Silver Surfer that we ran. We want to have multiple win conditions just in case we don't draw into our strongest combo. We want to have alternate play lines to still have a good and competitive game regardless. And so today we're going to be running the Helicarrier Hawk deck. And this one is similar to the negative Hawk in that if you don't draw into Darkhawk, that's okay. We have our Devil Dino, we have our Helicarrier discard. We can discard Helicarrier with Lady Sif, we can resummon it with Ghost Rider. We always have a pretty decent power push. Now, ideally, we are going to be able to send rocks with like Korg or Rock Slide and clog up their draw with Black Widow into a Hawk and a Mystique for two pretty big units onto the board, but that's very rare that that happens, so you can't rely on that as your only win condition. And so if we don't draw into that, we have Devil Dino. Devil Dino in this list is almost always going to be able to be almost maxed size because of the way that Nick Fury and Helicarrier work. So if we discarded a Nick Fury on 3 and we resummon it with Ghost Rider, his on reveal triggers. At that point, we get those 3 random cards, which will buff up our Devil Dino, maybe our Devil Dino and Mystique. If we drop Devil Dino on 5, and then we do a Mystique and a Lady Sif on 6 to discard our Helicarrier, that is also going to give us those 3 random cards in our hand, which will buff up both Devil Dino and Mystique by 6 each, and is a pretty big power push for the last turn play, and it doesn't give the opponent a lot of time to react or adjust their game plan depending on what we're dropping. And so this list has a couple of win conditions. If you don't have Hawk, I think we would have to really restructure the entirety of this deck because we want to utilize the Korg Rockslide combo if we have Hawk in hand. If not, then a lot of times we'll lean towards the Devil Dino path, but we should almost always be able to draw into one of those 2 big resources to try to find a way to win, regardless of what matchup we're going against. And so that's a very brief deck explanation. Black Cat most likely is always going to be discarded. There's not very many games that on turn 3 we draw her in hand and we can play her, but she serves as another use for our Ghost Rider. A lot of times we're not going to have time to do Lady Sif into a Ghost Rider. We're going to be wanting to set up some of our other stronger plays. But if we don't have Hawk or Rock Slide on 4, but Black Cat has been discarded, sometimes we can just play Ghost Rider, and using a turn 4 for a 9 power swing is a pretty decent turn 4 play that can start setting the tempo in your favor so that you can lean into your Devil Dino, your discards, your Devil Dino, your Rock Slide, your Hawk, whatever you need to do to put yourself in a position to win later on. And so we are going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope that you guys enjoy. All right, so first up we have Gasho. And we did some initial testing of about 10 games with this list, and the stats are on the screen now. The stats were really promising, really strong. I actually recorded about 6 wins with this list for a video, and not until I went into editing did I realize that I was in the wrong scene the whole time. I was in the deck explanation screen, so it cuts off a lot of the key parts. It's just, there's no way I can utilize that footage. So that means that we're going to get a little bit larger of a sample size. Over the course of recording for the video, the deck list still did pretty good. I had about a 60% win rate, which did drop a little bit, but the cube rate dropped quite a bit because I lost a couple of big wagers where I just thought I had the win condition and I played it all the way out to the end. And so it did kind of balance out, but the stats still look pretty promising. But we are going to get a little bit wider of a sample size because I messed up. And so the first card that they play is Morbius into the Avengers compound. So it looks like a Hela resummon deck because the Lady Sif targeted the death. And so we might have to look out for a big kind of explosive last turn play. We do have Hawk and Mystique, so we're going to be able to do a pretty big power push. And if they do get the Hela play, or even just a Ghost Rider, they can push power into Luke's bar. It will probably exceed anything we could do with like a Lady Sif and Ghost Rider combo. And so I think I'm going to push for winning Murder World and the Avengers compound if possible. And they do use an Invisible Woman to hide their discard cards so they can really lean into the Hela side of things. And so I don't know. It gets a little bit tough. And so I think this one is going to be a little bit tough for us. We're going to go with the Hawk play line. I think because of our Rock Slide, that's going to be a little bit stronger of a play. It's going to be a 12 power, 13 power Hawk plus a 12 power Mystique, which is almost a maxed out hand for us. And so, I mean, we could do the Devil Dino and hope for a Lady Sif to discard something and copy with Mystique. But I think Hawk is going to be a pretty decent push for us regardless. And we're going to need to win both Murder World and the Avengers compound lane here. Wow, so they actually don't play anything on turn 5. So all they have is Death right now to resummon. If they play Hela, that's all that they can resummon here. We have initiative, so we can actually force the Black Widow into their hand if for some reason they're still going with additional discards. Just the Ghost Rider would end up being 12, so this would be 12, 16. And so I think that would beat it by 1. I'm going to go ahead and play Black Widow into Murder World, and then we're just going to see how it goes. I guess we could have early on played Korg into Luke's bar just to continue to bounce him and send more rocks into their deck, but unfortunately we didn't think of that. They do have the Hela, so all I can resummon is, the Black Cat and the Death. I forgot about the Black Cat. And so we actually could have lost had the Death went really anywhere else. Had it went here, we would have lost. Had it went here on top of the Black Cat, we would have lost. Or even if Black Cat had went anywhere else and Death went here. So we got very, very lucky for our first matchup. I guess they felt bad that I recorded 6 games and ended up having to scrap them. Let's jump over into the next one. We will play that one a little bit better because we misplayed this one very heavily. We got very lucky to still be able to win the matchup. All right, next up we have Prometheus. The first location is Muir Island, and we're not going to be able to play anything there. Ooh, Sakaar comes down and actually makes us discard our Nick Fury. And so, and it pulls into their Galactus, which is a really early Galactus play. Turn 1 Galactus, you just can't, there's no countering that. And so maybe we can get lucky and do the Darkhawk and do the Hawk plus the Mystique and find enough power. Plus, if they're looking for the death angle, they're going to have a much harder time because no cards got destroyed because it was played on turn 1. So maybe they're going to send us maybe some a Hobgoblin, a Green Goblin. But we're gonna shoot for it. We're gonna shoot our shot. Let's go with the Hawk. The darkhawk is a big one, and so our Hawk does reveal. So Mystique will actually be able to copy that. Wow, that is a beautiful pull. That is like the 2 best cards it could pull. And so now we just kind of sit and wait. I think that ends in a retreat. Unless they have maybe an Enchantress. An Enchantress would counter us hard. They could use a Shang-Chi and wipe out our board, which would also counter us very, very hard, or very, very heavily. But I think we just play this one. I think we just skip this one out. It's not very interactive of a game. And they skipped there. That tells me they probably have a Shang-Chi, which is okay. Both of these go down below that limit, so we would still have quite a bit. Devil Dino does get a little bit stronger, but Shang-Chi can now only target this 1 card. And I think we could still outpace a Shang-Chi playline. And so I think they are going to retreat. I think they probably had that counter card. Yeah, either that or they were just skipping to get the extra booster from the extra turn. But I do think Fate wants us to find our wins. They're giving us, that is 2 really good games in a row. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Time Job EST or Time Joe Best. I'm not sure which way it's read, but next up we have Time. And the first location is Baxter Building. They do play a Sunspot there. We have several ways that we should be able to outpower the Sunspot play, even if they protect it with something like an armor. But it really depends on what else they are utilizing with it. So the Angela comes down. So that's more of a kind of high tempo list. Maybe they're looking for a way to set up a leader play. Maybe it's a morph. Very interesting, which morphs into our Mystique, and that is the worst card they could have morphed into. They could have got a massive Rock Slide, Devil Dino, Ghost Rider, but they end up getting the Mystique instead. So it was a mistake to play the morph because it morphed into our Mystique. We're gonna go ahead and play Rock Slide. We don't have Hawk, but we do have our Devil Dino for 5 plus a Mystique. And then if we draw into Lady Sif by the end of the game, we'll be able to discard our Helicarrier to reload and buff up our Devil Dino. And so let's go ahead and we're going to snap into that unfortunate morph that they had. and see if that is enough to encourage them to maybe retreat. If not, then I think we are in a pretty good spot to find a way to win. So they do use a Mr. Negative on curve on 4, but the Bifrost lane is looking very, very sad. I guess they could somehow do an Odin, which would re-trigger Mystique, and then they would have to have played an ongoing card, but that's such a rare play line that I doubt that that happens. We are gonna go ahead and throw down our Devil Dino. We do get lucky and draw into our Lady Sif. The next turn we'll be able to copy the Devil Dino's ability, plus we will be able to discard with Lady Sif to reload the size of that card. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Devil Dino into Baxter Building. Part of me wanted to put it into the Bifrost. That way we could copy over here. It would be a little bit more unexpected. But if they used an arrow for their no, this is a negative list. We shouldn't have to worry about an arrow play. And so I'm going to do the Devil Dino over here. I didn't want them to be able to redirect all of our cards on the last turn over into the Bifrost with an arrow, but since they have Mr. Negative, it's not very likely that they're going to have. Ooh, the Valkyrie comes down, and actually that's okay because we do have the Devil Dino that can continue to get stronger, and then we actually draw into Hawk as well. They can move their cards over into New York here, but I don't think we're going to push for that. We're going to do the Mystique and the Lady Sif. That is going to make sure that we have 7 cards. This is the ideal play line. Just about. I don't really know what else could be better here. We have the Disruption of Rock Slide. We have the Mystique and the Lady Sif to reload them. If they do a leader play, since we have initiative, Mystique will copy Devil Dino before they steal it. And so they'll retain the Devil Dino's effect, but we will have a bigger hand size than they do. And so we'll see. We'll see what they end up playing. They do play 1 card into Baxter Building, and I'm very curious what that 1 card is. So we do get the Lady Sif trigger and the Mystique. And so we have, it's not a maxed out hand size. I misspoke. It is a 6 card hand, so a 12 power, and they do have the leader, which copies the Mystique. It does discard one of their cards, but that makes their Mystique just a little bit weaker, and so ours retains a power of 12. Theirs is only 4, and so we do outpace the leader play in Baxter Building. They can't help themselves. I'm kind of surprised to see the leader play in a Mr. Negative list, but it's very, very interesting. And so we do get the upside by forcing them to discard some cards that don't get reloaded. And so we are able to keep our win in both Baxter Building and the Bifrost. Let's go ahead, and that is 3 great games in a row. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have NIR, and their avatar is Nick Fury. So if we can find a way to naturally play our Nick Fury or re-summon him onto the board with a Ghost Rider, then I think we're going to do that just for the flair. Just for the flair of it, plus it can always be a pretty good play. Oh my gosh, we got really lucky with that Daily Bugle. It could have been any number of things, but what we copied was their demon. And so I'm actually going to skip here. We could play the demon, but they may be running a Death Wave or a Destruction, something that runs Killmonger. And so I don't want to put the demon onto the board too early. Now, we know that they either got our Ghost Rider, Lady Sif, Darkhawk, or Rockslide, but we don't know which one. So our Hawk comes down in Sakaar. They're not going to be able to destroy this one. It looks like maybe they're running some kind of control. It looks like they're running some kind of control list with the Daredevil and the Destruction. So this is a pretty big lane, but I think that's okay. Let's go ahead and play our Lady Sif also with Vibranium Mines. If they play any cards here, that will actually buff up our Hawk as well, with the extra 3 that it shuffles into their deck each time they do. So we are going to discard our Devil Dino here. Next turn, we can re-summon it with our Ghost Rider, and we're setting in a pretty good place. They did snap, and we're going to snap back. I don't know. Maybe they're going to look for a Professor X lockdown, and they're just trying to angle something really advantageous for them. I don't know. I don't know what that could be. The Electro into a Galactus on 5 in Vibranium Mines could really, really hurt us here. Let's go ahead and play our Rock Slide into the Vibranium Mines. Next turn, we could do maybe a Ghost Rider that would re-summon our Devil Dino. And then we could angle either a Nick Fury or something as a way to push some additional power into the mines. So I really think that they're probably they're setting up a Galactus play into a null. Oh no, the Shang-Chi is a pretty big one. So maybe they're not doing that play line, and maybe we just unfortunately misplayed. So they're not going to be able to, if they don't run Galactus, they're not going to be able to play anything additional here. But I don't know of a good way to win this location. We could do Ghost Rider into the vines, plus the demon in Sakaar. And then on the last turn, we can always just naturally play our Helicarrier into Sakaar if they don't end up going with the Galactus into the Vibranium Mines. And so it really depends on what their next play is. They could run a Spider-Man, and that could be what they're looking for their win condition. But we'll have to kind of play this one depending on what they drop. We have to play it defensively, knowing that this setup could easily be a Galactus play, or even a null, because they did destroy our big Hawk in Sakaar, and so they could be angling for a big null as well. So they do use a Hobgoblin. It could still be angling that way. So they could just play a null, which clears quite a bit. But we do have the Nick Fury, which I did say at the start of this match that if we draw into Nick Fury and find a way to use him as a win condition, that is what we want to do. And so the Nick Fury plus the Vibranium in Sakaar is going to give us just a little bit of a lead in Sakaar. They do still have their 1-cost demon card, and then whatever else they're running. They can only play 1 card per turn, though. And so maybe they're going to angle for a null, but that's only like a 12 power destruction that they've done. And so I don't think they would outpace us in the Vibranium Mines. Maybe they're going to shoot for a leader play, but we're going to be playing into Sakaar, or an arrow play could do it as well. No, so they just go with a rock slide. We do have Nick Fury, we do have the Vibranium, and so we are going to be able to win both the left and the far right lane for the 8 cubes. That is 4 games in a row that have been absolutely phenomenal. We are going to go ahead and jump over into the next one and see if we can keep it going. All right, so next up we have Ocelot, and the first location is TVA. So that's, unless they change it, that is going to make this a short match. And we will be able to use Rock Slide or maybe Hawk on 4, which is a really big power push at that point. But otherwise, we don't have a lot of really high or fast tempo cards to be able to utilize. And so this location is not a strength for the deck, but maybe we can find a way to make it work. We do get Devil Dino from Agent 13, so if this was a normal game, we'd be able to surprise them with 2 Devil Dinos. I kind of hope they maybe storm the TVA location and we can play this one all the way out, because that would be incredibly satisfying. Since there's no Moon World, they really probably wouldn't anticipate the Devil Dino. Maybe the Devil Dino plus Mystique. But we do get, as the last location is Shuri's Lab. Whenever we play a card here, it's going to get doubled. We have the Helicarrier in our starting hand, so that's going to give us 3 additional resources to use on turn 4. So maybe we end up drawing into a way to change the TVA. We can make that happen by ourselves. Or maybe they change it with a storm here, and we don't have to worry about doing the heavy lifting. And so we get a Chavez, a Domino, and an Arnim Zola. None of which are phenomenal. They do have waves, so they'll be able to play whatever they want to here, but they can only play 1 card. We can both only play 1 card. They might play a leader, but I think what we're going to do is play our Ghost Rider into the TVA location. That will resummon the Helicarrier. If they go with a leader play, then that's okay, because they will only copy the 3 power from Ghost Rider. And so we would win the tiebreaker. I also thought about doing an Arnim Zola to send Lady Sif, the 8 power Lady Sif, here and here, which would be a 16 power play across 2 lanes. But if they use a big resource in Dark Dimension, that wouldn't be enough for us to win. And so I think this is going to be playing defensively. We can also just play Devil Dino, but I don't know. We're going to go with the Ghost Rider. We're going to see what they end up playing. They could do a massive resource into Shuri's Lab. No, it's a Galactus. Oh, which does... Wow. Which is going to take away the TVA location. Our Ghost Rider does resummon Helicarrier, but it's not going to help us out all that much. So they do have the big play in Shuri's Lab here. But if they have Death, if they have Spider-Man to lock us out of this location, then we're much less likely to win. And so the Devil Dino does come down. It's a big resource, but if they use a Spider-Man to lock us out, they just do a big Hobgoblin play instead, which So that Hobgoblin does get doubled to -16, which is abysmal. So the Devil Dino is 20 power. It'll end up being 18 power. If we play the second one, we could do Nick Fury, which would be 14, and it would maintain the 20 power, so it's going to be a 16 power play. But that's still not ideal. I'm going to go with the Devil Dino. I think we lose this one to a death and another big card. We're just going to retreat out. All right, next up we have Ocelot, and they did just beat us with a Galactus deck. They used Galactus into Shuri's lab, and then we just weren't able to compete. I ended up retreating. I'm going to go ahead and play Korg into the cloning vats. We're going to play Black Widow. We're going to try to prevent them from drawing into their Galactus or their key resources. And so I'm going to go ahead and snap. We're not bitter about losing. We're going to play Korg. We're going to try to disrupt their play line as much as possible. They do have a Sunspot, but if we can stop them from drawing into those key resources, then I think we can angle that and use that as a way to win the game. I am going to duplicate our Black Widow as well, and then next turn we can play both Korg and Black Widow. If we want to, we can duplicate Black Widow one more time, because we're not going to be able to compete for the cloning vats, I don't think, especially with them skipping several turns here. And we do have a Hawk as well, and so I think we're going to play Korg into the hub. We might actually be able to play a couple of Hawks. So Hawk would copy, and then we could play him again somewhere else. We could play him on 4, 5, and maybe even 6. But let's go with Korg. We're going to go with the Black Widow. Maybe we do angle and play Darkhawk into the cloning vats. They have 3 sunspots, though. And so that is a really big burden for us. Now, if they continue to stack their Widow's Bites here, they have this one really maxed out. We'll see if we're able to find a way to win. I am going to play Hawk into Necrotia. Hopefully, with the disruption that we have already given them, they're not able to draw into those key resources. They play their second Widow's Bite. They play their 4th Sunspot into the cloning vat location. And so I would expect, if they do have Galactus, they're going to try to angle it into Necrotia. And we could do the Devil Dino here. Into next turn doing a Lady Sif, plus maybe a Mystique, which would give us a really big push into the Necrotia lane. But if they don't have their Galactus, then playing into Necrotia is actually not a good call. But they don't have a way to drop their Galactus early into Necrotia because they haven't ramped or done anything like that. I'm actually going to play the Devil Dino into the hub. Next turn, we can still do the Lady Sif to re-up the Devil Dino's power. They do a darkhawk into the hub, which does draw into our Helicarrier, so that's a massive resource that we did want to discard. It also forces them into a 3rd Widow's Bite, and so if they have Galactus, this is the only place they can play it. Or they would have to have something that beats 14 power in this lane. And so we're actually going to play our Nick Fury and our Agent 13. That way we can maintain the power push from our Devil Dino. Now, they could have a Shang-Chi. If they have a Shang-Chi, that actually will beat us in the hub location, and we'll end up losing for a second time to Ocelot. They are a good player. They have the Hulk avatar. They've been playing since early beta. And so I would expect them to have a contingency plan upon a contingency plan. But we are going to be able to reload with Nick Fury and with Agent 13, so we're going to give it a shot. They do end up retreating. So with the cloning vat, we actually get pretty lucky in being able to clog their board. They're not able to continue to draw into resources. They're not able to really ramp into those early drops just because of the way the Korg and Black Widow work when dropped multiple times. And then we have our big units in Hawk and Devil Dino. So we got very fortunate that we were able to maintain that tempo with that one. Now that we got the revenge, we are going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. And if there are any lists that you guys want me to try out, if you have an idea for a build, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm at a point where I can experiment a little bit. And so if you have something that you want to see me run, definitely let me know. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.